Well, hello. This is Edna White, and I'm so glad I am with you today. Today is Tuesday, and I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm excited to be here with you on this Lunchtime Live. So, what's Lunchtime Live about? Of course, is to just get some tips on how to kind of be better in your business and to be better in your life. So, since we've been talking about emotions and wellness, I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence, which is emotional wellness, and why it's important to your business. Now, so you say, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is a person's ability to manage their feelings and empathize with others. So being able to be in a diverse community, workplace setting, whatever it is, and being able to see a person's side or understand or feel it but not be have went through it, but be conscious and humble about hearing um, where they're coming from and being open-minded to be able to hear what they got to say if it's worth listening to. I will say that. I will, if it's a bunch of mumbling and grumbling and cursing and acting crazy, yeah, that's different. That's not emotional intelligence. That's ignorance. Emotional ignorance showing. So I would say do not listen to that. Okay? So in a workplace, this is most important. It's a quality that can either make or break your business and make or break your career. And I've had so many experiences with emotional intelligence of other people, and I often thought, wow, they're really not applying their emotional intelligence and emotional balance in their work, because it seems like they bring their personal life, when their personal life is not well, they bring it into the workplace or they bring it to the business. It's just like you go to the grocery store, right? Cashier's there. There's this grumpy old man or grumpy old woman or grumpy old person in front of you. I wish they would hurry up and saying all negative things. Well, you don't even know them, but they're making everyone around them miserable. They're fussing with the cashier. They're saying things to you to get you stirred up. Then they're trying to bring you into that. Then they're even bagging their groceries in a way that's so like hostile, right? That's because their home life is not great. Their personal life is not great. And what happens is you can try to hide your personal life, but eventually it comes out and spills over in workplace, school, in your business, church life, all of that. It spills over in your relationships. It spills out all over. Now, as an entrepreneur, you might pride yourself in the well educatedness of yourself and the innovative ideas that you have. But there are important qualities for a good leader that often we overlook. Now, a good leader is not someone who barks rules. A good leader is not someone who knows everything and has to micromanage everything. A good leader is not the one that has created the project and doesn't need anybody to help them. That's not a good leader. A good leader uses their emotional intelligence or their abilities to recognize and manage their emotions and is able to empathize with anyone that they speak to. Because what are they doing? They are doing the number one thing. They're not wanting to remain the leader. They are creating other leaders, other ambassadors, other princes and kings and queens and princesses. They're creating other leadership. And when you have somebody who's emotionally ignorant, they're stifling the development. They're stifling the growth in other people. They're stifling their voices. They're stifling their work, how broad they can really stretch out. They're stifling. They're keeping it in a little small box so they can contain it. Your emotional intelligence helps you and your business. Listen, there have been so many emotional, intelligent historical leaders that we've all looked up to, and didn't even realize it. Like Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln. Emotional intelligence, you know. Yes, you might have heard some things about their outside life, but it never impeded on their business life. They never impeded on their focus towards things. That's when you need to understand how important emotional intelligence is and how it's good for you to have control over those emotions, be able to put those emotions in perspective, not deflective onto another person or thing, and be able to act accordingly to help other people succeed. See, once you help you succeed, you help other people succeed. You no longer have that power struggle. Emotional ignorance is a power struggle. I'm the best. There's nobody else that's around me that's like me. Well, that's not true. You are the best at what you are, but guess what? You can't do everything alone. Whoever said that I can do things alone lied. You cannot. You were not put on this earth to do everything alone. Just was not. Can't. And life shows us across the boards, from celebrities to historical leaders, biblical sources, everything shows us you can't live here alone. You can't have just yourself. Even looking at the Bible, Jesus couldn't be by himself. He had all kinds of different characteristic, people with different characters around him. He had cursors around him. He had people who was not so truthful. He had people, they were all hanging around. They were his friends. Now, was he perfect? I ain't gonna say he was perfect. I'm just gonna say, though, if we always stick to the plan to say birds of a feather flock together, guess what? All those men that he was hanging around, which were the 12 apostles, all had some kind of problems. What does that say to you? But I digress. Back to emotional intelligence. So now that we know what emotional intelligence is, right? We know it's a self-awareness. Having a high self-awareness means you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, your moods and your emotions, right? You understand that. You understand it. No one else has to figure it out for you or tell you about it. You know about it. And furthermore, a self-aware person understands how these things impacts others. So, my example of myself is if I wake up in the day and I was like, oh, I feel like I got to get that in check because I'm going to speak to so-and-so, or I'm going to speak in front of a group of people, and this that I feel right today has to get in check. I sit down and I figure it out. What is making me like this? Maybe it's something that I can kind of resolve right then and there, maybe not, but I would have to put that in check. And listen, people ask me, they'll say, oh, you don't seem like yourself today. And I'll say, no, I'm not. But thank you for asking. Give me that good energy. So I'm one of those ones that, as soon as you say you don't say that, I'm going to be truthful with you. If you could send me some good energy. Good energy is always good. Okay. So number 2, you have self-regulation. A person who can effectively self-regulate is someone who thinks before taking action. A while ago, several years ago, a long time ago, like maybe 15 years ago, I had said to myself, I'm going to do my best not to lie to anyone. Even if I have to take my tongue, pull it out while I'm talking, and bite it. So that was my self-regulation. It was a little dramatic, but it was my self-regulation. This is the type of person, that is in control of their emotions and can control their impulses, okay? Then there's people that don't and I impulsively give faces. I love when people say, "Well, that's just my resting bitch face," and I'm like, "Okay," but your face is reactionary. It's just not like that all the time. You can smile. Your facial expressions is one thing, but you're smiling, your frowns, your mouth, your eyebrow, cinches, all are reactionary. So that could tell you about that person. Okay. 3, internal motivation. A person with a high emotional quality is a self-starter and pursues their personal and professional goals for their own self-development, not for anyone else's, not to show anybody else, not to pretend and be fake, and none of that. They do it for themselves. They're motivated from the inside. They are not necessarily motivated by the praise, money, or titles of anyone else. They don't care about that. They don't look for that. They want self-development for themselves. They want the happiness for themselves inside. 4, empathy. An empathetic person is someone who can easily recognize and understand other people's emotions. Now, that's where the word empath comes from. You have to have empathy. Some empaths have that just genuinely, but empathy, you can grow, you can learn, you can feel. When you learn how to feel for yourself, you learn how to feel for others. Okay, so empathy is that recognition of other people's emotions. Just feeling, oh, this person doesn't feel too good today. Empathy is more than sympathizing with others. As empathetic people genuinely understand what others are going through and respond in kind. So if you're not having a good day and you're working, or you're the entrepreneur, or you own this business and one of your employees or one of your workers are doing such and such and that, not in their best mood, right away. I don't care if they're VA. I don't care if they're just online. I don't care if they're in person. Right away because you're in tune. Believe me, I know. Okay? So you respond in kind and you say, hey, maybe you need to take a day off because this is not like you to do such and such. What's going on? If you want to talk about it, what's going on? That's emotional intelligence. Okay? 5, people skills. Here we go. Finally, a person with a high emotional intelligence has developed their people skills and is good at networking and building relationships. Now, when I say building is ongoing. So you meet a person one day, you're not going to forget them. And you want to relate to them as much as you possibly can. You want to be there for them. You want to, just connect with them at all times. So you're not going to, run away with that. You're not going to not build on that. So you always want to keep in touch with them. If it's through social media, if it's through having a once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week call to just be connected. What's going on today? Maybe we can do some work together. Maybe we can't. Maybe we just meet for lunch. Whatever the case may be, you're building on that relationship, right? That's what relationship building. A person with great people skills develops strong, non-competitive bonds. Now, if we all don't have all the same friends, that's great, right? There's no need to get all up in the stir, but we don't compete against each other, non-competitive. That's your friend. I'm friends with that person, maybe in a different way, but hey, we don't compete. We're okay with where our relationships are. Isn't that great? They're built on mutual trust and respect, not on usury and distrust. Not on that. Just it's trust and respect. So now, how do you say you roll all of this stuff together? Why is it important in my business as an entrepreneur, in my workplace as a workplace, as an employee who wants to build their career, right? Now, emotional intelligence has to do with the way that you deal in your team, work with your team, working together as a team, right? Individuals can become passive or take an aggressive approach to regular interactions. Two of the telltale signs of weak emotional intelligence in the office are the inability to accept criticism and own up to your mistakes. If you don't hear someone say, I'm sorry, emotional intelligence is very low. If you cannot, and now when I say accept criticism or be critiqued about something, I don't mean to be critiqued about your hair or, when I say, okay, I may know hair. Let's just say that. Oh, and I'll say, oh, that haircut you got the other day looks very great. Looks great on you. Okay, or I'll say it takes a little bit away. I would like it a little, looks longer. It shows off your chin. It shows off your eyes. Whatever the case may be. Some people can't take that. So, unless that in a office setting, those are telltale signs. If you're doing a project and say, I don't think that will work in this situation here, and I don't think this will, and I think this is, and you give your idea about the teamwork that's happening. Maybe we should do this and maybe we should do that. And when it's not accepted, but rejected or put on or not even acknowledged, that is a sign of someone having weak emotional intelligence. How does that damage it? If that person is never willing to improve themselves, their emotional intelligence, they won't be successful in working in a team in a workplace. Now, on the other hand, if the organization and an employers who prioritize, right, emotional intelligence and foster a safe working environment that you can express and be yourself to solve problems instead of create problems and takes ownership for any mishaps. See, that's the key. You have to take ownership, responsibility for mistakes. And yeah, we did do that wrong, but we're looking for the team to make it better. And if we keep that level head, even under pressure, and saying, oh man, that is my fault, or that is our fault, but we've created this team to work together, and we're going to let them express themselves as best as possible to solve this problem. Hey, hell yeah, we're creating leaders. We're creating leaders. Most organizations don't have that quality because they don't have the right management that sees the vision for emotional intelligence in their own lives. And that's why companies, organizations, businesses, small businesses as well, large businesses, need to incorporate emotional wellness into their employees' human resources. They need to. They need to have services for their employees, their workers. They need to have that. What do you have available to help and foster growth for the people that work for you? What do you have? What's available for them? Is there coaching available to them? Is there one person that you have hired to say, hey, you're having a bad day, you're having a difficult time, this is a service for you, paid for, here's an hour, go there. Are you fostering emotional intelligence within your agency, within your business, within your organization, small or big? What do you do? Okay? And here's a few other ways that if you cultivate it in yourself, you'll cultivate it with those around you. How does it help your business? It improves leadership. A manager that is definitely seeing about the internal parts of his life, the emotional intelligence in him or herself, definitely will, guess what? do that for the people around them. Will give stronger leadership and be able to weather the storm. It improves leadership. Cultivates positive company culture. Yeah. It cultivates it. It creates that positive culture. It attracts and produces better workers. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. You're emotional intelligent. You're going to choose people that that you can work with, and guess what? You're going to provide that service for them. You're going to develop that. People become more loyal if their cultures, if their company has a culture that emphasizes growth. Strong workforce. And listen, and if you have a strong workforce, guess what? Great bottom line. You have people that want to work for you, and guess what? Have no problem with doing more than they need to do. Why? Because you're creating and you're cultivating leaders. And when you cultivate leaders, leaders know they're going to be leading somewhere else. It encourages collaboration and teamwork. Sure does. Because I know for myself, I can go out and say, hey guys, to my following or to my friends and say, I want to do this project. And I get a whole lot of people, a host of people to help me. Why? Because I'm working on my emotional intelligence. I'm working on that. I have that in focus for my personal development. It encouraged that collaboration and teamwork from internationally to locally. You won't have a problem with prioritizing what's important, your emotional intelligence, and you would create a life or safe environment for anyone that you work with, whatever setting you want, whether it be at your workplace, whether it be in your own business. You will create a safe environment where there's respect and they're not afraid of failing. See, here's the thing that I don't like is you can't fail in a workplace that does not have emotional intelligence. You can't fail. But sometimes there is going to be failure. But they don't give you, okay, I understand what was going on. Now let's see if we can develop they emphasize your strengths and use them, but they don't accentuate your weaknesses so they can get stronger. That's a poor company culture. Taking the time to develop a strong, emotional, intelligent workforce, or being around people in the workplace, or creating that in your own business, it directly impacts everything that you do. Everything. With every leader, every level of teamwork that you're presupposing to do in your business. Whatever it is. If it's just something like maybe social media. If you have the sensitivity within yourself, right? Your emotional intelligence is in check, and you're not, you want something from somebody that you're not doing. Oops. There you go. If you're not willing to do the work, you want something from somebody else, guess what's not going to happen? You're not going to get it. You're going to always be hiring and hiring and hiring because you're not willing to do the work. You're going to always have turnover. You're not willing to do the work. Emotional intelligence starts with you first. So you can be productive and successful in yourself, and then you can create that in your business or at your workplace. Boom. You know what else? The last thing it does is it assists in conflict management. It's much easier when you're emotionally connected to yourself and aware of yourself, aware of your emotions, that you can actually be equipped to be able to accept criticism and keep your cool in workplace conflict. So if you are a small business owner or a manager, someone can say to you, this is a root cause of a problem that needs to be addressed. And then they give you what could be done to make that better. Spend less time, a person that spends less time arguing about a situation and more time solving a problem is the person that has emotional intelligence, who's grounded in their emotional intelligence. So, of course, I know there's a lot more, but I think I've gotten under the 30 minutes for your lunchtime. Yay! So now you know why you need emotional intelligence and what it is. So I want to be a constant. I want to be able to aim to bring inspiration to you as leaders, and other experts that are there to really make their business grow, make their lives grow, have a better life, not just today but tomorrow and thereafter, and be able to change a legacy and say, hey, I don't want this stops here, but how do I stop it? And now how do I restart and reprogram what I'm doing? See, that's the difference. It stops with me, but that you need the reprogramming now. What do I do? Emotional intelligence is just one thing you can do. And there's many other components in that. But today, we just worked with the fact that what is your emotional intelligence and why it's important to your business. I hope that I helped someone out there today just for lunch. And if you are listening, thank you so much. There's been so many great things happening over here in Wounded to Wonderful, and I'm sure that you'll be back. And if you want a subject covered, please let me know. You can leave comments down in the box below, and give me some feedback on what you thought about today's Lunchtime Live. Bye for now, and this is Edna White saying goodbye.